Well, folks, it's been a few days removed since SOS Part 2. By the way, I'd just like to add thank you for the amount of views and the positive response you've given me from that particular review. So that is very much appreciated. And I'm just going to go look through the comments from Dalek Sram. Hope I've said that properly. One thing that bothers me about the episode, the Calypso crashed off the coast of Africa, so it's in the Atlantic. The Tracy Island is in the Pacific. It would have taken days for Thunderbird 4 to get there on its own. To quote Virgil, Thunderbird 4 is only a scout craft. She's got to be airlifted. But I do agree, it kind of reminds me of Up from the Depths Part 1. I have to agree, this is something I really should have put in the review. It's not like with the Greater or the Superior Barrier Reef, like from Deep Water, where it would have been a stone's throw from Tracy Island. That's doable. But Thunderbird 4 is a mini-sub for all intents and purposes. I mean, she's not Stingray. So, yeah, the fact that she would go from the South Pacific to off the coast of West Africa, I'm sorry, that's a bit of a stretch. Silver TARDIS, nice to see him commenting again. I've not been able to give each of the recent episodes a score yet, but this two-parter is easily the best one we've seen so far and one of the best stories of Season 3. Having said that, there were some elements that bugged me. TB4 getting broken in half again. If Up from the Depths is anything to go by, we shouldn't have to wait too long before it gets fixed, although I'm surprised they didn't try to retrieve it, or at least say they would. That being said, I'm still annoyed that it broke just by having a large rock fall on it. For gosh sakes, TB4 got buried by a ton of rocks in the very first episode and was absolutely fine. Also, if you think back to Up from the Depths Part 1, the Deep Ocean Surveyor had to squeeze TB4 for a good 2 to 3 minutes before it broke, and that was added on top of the intense pressure at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. All I'm saying is TB4 should be harder to kill based on what we've seen in previous episodes. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that is a bit of a... I've already covered my thoughts for Fuse's slight change in direction. He had a problem with Fuse's concern for Gordon. His words, honestly at this point in the series, I was just fine with the Chaos Crew being the Hood's mercenaries who love to be the bad guys and don't care who gets hurt in the chaos they create. When Fuse asks, do you think it'd be alright? The first one that came out was, what the F do you think and why do you care? I'm not saying that you can't have these characters turn over a new leaf. But we've already had that with the mechanic, and need I say it again, his story arc needs a conclusion. I was already disappointed when the series gave up on making the mechanic a remorseless villain, so I'd prefer it if the Chaos Crew stayed back because the Hood can't seriously be the only true villain in the world of Thunderbirds. I do agree on that, but at the same time, I like the fact that characters can change throughout the course of a series run or a movie's run, because good character writing is the characters are not in the same place at the end from when they once began. I mean, if you look at Fresh Prince of Bel-Air as an example, in the very first episode, Will is rebellious. Will doesn't have really much care for authority. He's very charismatic, he's very witty, but you can tell he needs to learn a lot. By the very last episode, he's still got the sass, he's still got the wit, but he's matured, he has responsibility, and he is not even the same person by the end of the series run. That's good character writing, and I still maintain with Fuse, that's good character writing to have them in a different place. I mean, if he turns face, I don't have a problem with that. But I think for me and Silver TARDIS, I think we're just going to have to agree to disagree. I get where he's coming from, but I kind of like a slight change in direction for Fuse, so I'm okay with that. Nobody tried to save Brayman sooner. I know that Brayman is only a robot who isn't feeling any pain, as stated by Brains, but you'd think Brains would be the first to demand they go and save him, given how he feels about Max. Yeah? The submarine pod's making Thunderbird 4 redundant, because, yeah, I get, and I agree with this as well, you need to have backups, but it's made Thunderbird 4 redundant. The SOS from Jeff Tracy, which came as a surprise to nobody. I know this will probably be explained in time, but the fact that the distress call came from outside the solar system makes me wonder why Gordon was hoping to find some trace of him on the seafloor in the very first episode. All I know from previous stories is that there was some sort of crash involving the hood. And I made a response. You make very valid points. I suppose they had Gordon look in the first episode just to give the audience something to hope for. I could be wrong, but now we know that Jeff is somewhere in deep space. It will be intriguing how they go about rescuing him. I'm going to get into that a little bit later. Kuya, I hope I pronounced that correctly, Wayne's media company. This series just keeps honouring Jeff Tracy's legacy like no other show could or would. Kudos to this production group in all aspects. I agree. I'm so hyped to see Jeff Tracy return, as am I. I'm not gonna lie, I almost teared up when I was watching this episode for the first time. Now, with regards to how they're going to go about getting Jeff back, there are only two feasible ways I can see this being done if they are going to mount a rescue that is going to go into deep space. Number one, they coordinate with the same space industry that built the Zero X, because we've seen in trailers Jeff Tracy is aboard a Zero X as it's going further up in the atmosphere. My thinking is they either borrow the Zero X with more than enough fuel for them to get to that point in the universe where Jeff is, and to get them back. The only other solution I can think of that they might go for is heavily modifying Thunderbird 3 with regards to the power that her jet propulsion can do, and via the same token, the means to have much more fuel in a tank, just so that she can not only go from Earth to where Jeff is in the universe, and then to bring him back. Because this is something I'll be putting into the article, which I'll leave a link in the description. Thunderbird 3 is designed for deep space travel, but I don't think Brains designed her with the intent to go outside of the solar system, because Thunderbird 3 has been to Europa, which is one of Venus's moons. She has been to Mars twice. She has been to the sun and back, and she's also used for maintenance trips up to Thunderbird 5 when the space elevator is out of action. Look at Endgame for that particular reason why. The man from Thunderbird 5, when Gordon and Alan were on space monitor duty whilst John was uncomfortably coerced into attending a social party as Lady Penelope's guest. But this is my point. Thunderbird 3 is not the USS Enterprise. Although the idea of, possibly having Captain Picard and company just meet up, like, oh, International Rescue, we'll help you with the USS Enterprise. Mr. Brains, engage the hyperdrive. Engage. Make it so. I can imagine Brains and Mr. Data getting along just fine, because both of them are just very in tune with technology, and maybe even, Brains getting along with Geordie LaForge, that'd be a meeting of the minds, and seeing how Picard would actually get along with the Tracy brothers. And I'm just waiting for the "shut up Wesley" jokes or "shut up Alan" jokes. That would make for some amusing television if that ever were to happen. ITV, come on. You know you want this to happen. But all joking aside, I think that is the only way that they'll feasibly get Jeff Tracy back from deep space. And this is the thing that was just so brilliantly done at the end of SOS Part 2, is when Brains is decoding the data from the Calypso, combined with the distress call that was used through Brayman, is when it's revealed it's one of their encryptions that's embedded in the SOS. And just hearing, and even though it's just an automated, monotone vocal delivery from Brayman, it's just spine-chilling that you realize that Jeff Tracy is somewhere out in the universe sending this call saying, "Is anyone out there? I'm all alone." Now, Jeff Tracy, in any media of Thunderbirds, has always been a very poised, strong-minded, resourceful, and a very cerebral strategist. He's kind of the Batman of International Rescue. He has backup plans to backup plans. No, people, we do not want to see Jeff Tracy crouching down on the rooftops of Gotham City just going, "Where were the other drugs going?" Although if Jeff was trying to cosplay as Batman from Dark Knight Returns, that may work considering he'd be in the right age range, but I can't see Jeff doing that. But for a parody, that would be interesting. "I'm Jeff Tracy, but I'm also Batman. I'm gonna have all the Thunderbirds decked out in black." And then Scott like going, "Dad, you okay?" "Well, yes, son, I'm just fine. I'm just going to Halloween." "Dad?" "It's April." Sorry, I'm just messing around here, but in all seriousness, it's the state of mind that the character has. Like I say, he has a plan for almost everything. Very resourceful, but cut him off from the resources that he has with International Rescue, where he is possibly the only living soul, where he is adrift in deep space. That's spine-chillingly cold. I mean, what does that do to a person's psyche and emotional state? And I can only imagine when the boys finally meet up again with their father and rescue him, it's going to be an emotional reunion. And ITV, I know you haven't announced any potential renewal for a 4th season, but I only speak for myself on this. I think it'll be a missed opportunity if this show is not renewed for a 4th season, because there is so much potential that could be had seeing how Jeff could fit back into the picture of International Rescue. Now, ever since day one, when ITV announced that they were going to be bringing the show back around 2012, we were always given little to nothing to work with, and then very slowly, around late 2014, we would get little cracks through the keyhole. We'd start seeing little images and glimpses, one of which being the reveal of the Tracy brothers, albeit from the rear end view of them. But you could get to see the sort of graphical detail with regards to the shape of the heads, the hair, what sort of Model work was being done in the background, and then we had the reveal of the website, which went live on midnight in December 2014, only to reveal you were being signed up to a mailing list. Okay. Then a little bit further on in early 2015, and actually I think it was Boxing Day 2014, the first teaser trailer aired, where it's somebody's voice putting out a distress call saying, "Is anybody out there? International rescue, are you receiving this?" And then into 2015, we start getting little bits at a time. We first see the miniature or bigature model sets of Tracy Island, various landscapes, up in space, and then we see the launch bays of two respective Thunderbirds, Thunderbirds 3 and 1. And then we don't really see anything until February, March. We start seeing these 30-second trailers for each Tracy brother and each Thunderbird, and then the full-blown official trailer didn't come out until Friday, March 13, 2015. And even like up till before then, we got little to nothing. So ITV are very watertight with keeping details locked down. So if there is a fourth season to be renewed, they're keeping very, very hush-hush. Now, this is probably just my naivete speaking here, but I would like to believe that ITV have got something planned, and they're just waiting to see the reaction of Season 3 to see where this will go. Now, again, naive, but I also have to keep in perspective, what if they're not being renewed? What if there is that chance that after episode 18 of Season 3, that's it? And this is something that me and Stephen Walker discussed not too long after Sunday Night Live went off the air for this week, is they go and get a new toy deal set up with Bandai. It would be a little bit of wasted effort on Bandai's part just to have a toy deal put in place only to see it only be around for 9 episodes and then just stop. To me, that's, from a business perspective, that doesn't make any sense. Now, I could be completely wrong, and it wouldn't be the first time, but I would like to naively believe there is going to be a fourth season, and ITV are just keeping very quiet about it. Because again, there is some potentially good stories that you could tell with Jeff being brought back into the fray. Whether there will be clashes with him and Scott, because Scott has been in charge for so long. You know, will he step on Jeff's toes a little bit being back? You know, just reacting upon what he would usually do? Or will Jeff simply sit in the background? Will he simply sit in the background and... I don't know. I wouldn't know what to think at this point in time, which is why I would like to see a fourth season just to see where they would go with this. Because, like I say, they have got a good thing going with this show, and it would be a shame if they ended it with Jeff only being back for, say, 2 or 3 episodes. I don't know. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Should the show go off into the sunset on a high note after episode 18, or would you like to see where this could go? Because I'm with the latter on this one. I would like to see what new stories could be told. Would Jeff actually go out on missions with them? Or would he simply sit back in his chair and watch the action unfold from Tracy Island, just as his original counterpart did? In one way or another, we will find out over the course of the next few episodes. Until next time, folks, good night from the night.